We've come a long ways since rifles were king in the Division 2, but there's still a few that stick out, and this one, well, I just keep coming back to it.
And if you don't know, now you know.
I do run rifle builds all the time in the Division 2. However, the rifle that you'll see me running all the time is the 1886. It's super strong, right? It's basically a sniper. And that's because I have an aggressive playstyle, and so I'm looking for more of like a DMR where I can use my rifle in close quarters combat and on the go. And so that's what I look for out of my rifles. And when you look for the selection of rifles that we have, they're sort of more for relaxed playstyle. And even if their damage is pretty good, like the Baker's Dozen or any of the M1As, really, they hold a lot of power, but I would love to see rifles in this game be like between 1 and 3 shots to get a kill. So like 2 to the body, 1 to the head, 2 to the body, 1 to the head, kind of chain kill in that rhythm. And it's pretty hard. Even the strongest rifle builds are really 4, 5 shots. It sort of just depends. And it's not really all the rifle's fault. It's just that we don't really have anything that caters to the rifles. And so some of the options that actually work are really orientated to group play. But what if you're playing solo? Or what if you want a build that can swing both ways? What do you have? And really, there's nothing. There's no gear set. So we have Hot Shot for marksmen. We have Aces and Eights for marksmen. But what's for rifles? I mean, even LMGs has a designated gear set with Heartbreaker and True Patriot. So rifles is kind of hanging around no man's land. So everything's getting updates except for the rifles. And they just tossed us another exotic rifle, and I'm choosing the Doctor's Home over it. I think the Doctor's Home is a way better weapon than the Vindicator. But this isn't a video about comparing the two.
Entering Dog Zone.
I handcrafted this build and it's gone a lot of different directions. If you were part of the build lab for rifles we did last week, then you might notice that it's actually changed. We ran up a bunch of floors in the summit and it was a struggle at first because rifles, honestly, they really feel flat. So if you pick up a rifle and start slapping together a build, you just end up with something like really standard. Maybe the Foxes and the Contractors and who knows, Glass Cannon. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper. So I'm using the Doctor's Home. Now, at first I was a little bit resistant to using this because right now it's kind of hanging out in between places. So the devs were planning on changing the talent and how it worked, and then they decided not to. I'll show you that in a second. But the Doctor's Home has a higher RPM than the non-exotic version, and it doesn't look like a lot, but it makes a big difference. When I was making this rifle build, I did try the M1A CQB and I did try the SIG CQB, and I like those weapons, but I just kept going back to this one. And that's because this base rifle is so strong on its own that the defense became more handy. But I also really like those elevated RPMs, which none of the other ones have. With this one, you're getting the elevated RPMs, which is helpful for your DPS, but you're also getting the defense. Now you can try to set something up like this using the M1A CQB and preservation, but it's not quite the same because you're not gonna get the lift in RPMs. Instead, you're gonna get more headshot damage by running the 8x scope, but you're gonna get the benefit of the RPM on headshots and body shots, which you are landing both. And also this has really good mods. So you got 10% accuracy, 10% weapon handling, and 10% stability, as well as faster reload speed. And this weapon does have a faster reload speed than the M1A CQB. And you do notice it even at 2.3 seconds. It still feels a little slow at 2.3 seconds, which is your biggest hang-up, but it's faster than the non-exotic version. Doctor's Home, it reads that you can shoot an enemy with this weapon and it's gonna apply a mark for 5 seconds. So if you or an ally kills that marked target, then everybody gets 10% armor on kill. That's traditionally how this weapon is built, and I've really enjoyed it that way, but now it's working a little bit differently. And so now you're getting 10% armor on kill for every headshot, even though you're not getting a kill. So as you can see, that it stacks up really quickly there, and you got amazing survivability. And that's transferring over to your team, apparently, but I haven't tested this in a team format yet. And so I found that to be extremely helpful when you're fighting a very tanky guy, like one of those heavy gunners, and you're just wailing on his head and he's wailing on you at the same time. And so you're trying to outpace him, heal through it, and then get that kill before he kills you. Because I was noticing it was a little inconsistent, I didn't feel like it was like a major emphasis on this build. For a long while, I was actually avoiding this weapon because generally I don't like playing into weapons that might have have a talent that is temporary. And so there's a possibility that they're going to take that away from this build, but I've built it accordingly. So I still like the Doctor's Home even without that function. I think it's a great weapon just for the 10% armor on kill, the RPM, and the mods. It's a very, very powerful weapon for you and your team. Even if they change the way that talent is working, then this build should still work really nice because I have other survivability built in. So the chest piece is the pristine example. Yeah, it's for marksman rifles, but you're still getting more benefit with this than if you didn't have perfect focus and try to put regular focus on something like Providence or whatever. So this is still the better version. So we got weapon damage, crits throughout, and then perfect focus gives you total weapon damage by 6% every second you are aiming. So that becomes very strong. And so this is where we run into some interesting things. So look at your options that you have for rifles. So yeah, you can run a non-exotic rifle that can manage the laser pointer and then try to run spotter, but the laser pointer now has a cooldown and that would force you into technician, which you may not want to do with a rifle. Not the worst thing on a planet, but still. And then all these others are just really not that great. I mean, Overwatch is okay, but it's just really on the weaker side, but you know, there's a synergy there with the rifle. Intimidate wouldn't work. You have to be in 10 meters. Vanguard, I guess, if you really want to lean in the shield. Unbreakable, not really. Protected reload, no. Glass cannon is the other option. So I feel like it's focus or glass cannon, and then the other one is braced. I feel like those are the best talents for rifles traditionally if you're looking for damage, because things like obliterate just don't really help with this rifle. Same with headhunter, and so not that super consistent when it comes to damage and saving your butt when you need it. So that's one of the big problems with rifles, right? So it's not just a gear set, but it's also the lack of talents, especially on the chest. Now let me flip over to the backpack. I went a lot of different ways with the backpack. Of course, you can go Memento, you could try the Ninja, whatever. In the end, I came back to Vigilance. And the reason why I chose this over Bloodsucker, which I was running for a while, was that I think that really good feeling you get from rifles comes from that first shot advantage. So those first couple of shots, especially with the rifle that has a high RPM, I think you want a lot of damage out of that so that you stagger the enemy and then you just have a couple follow-up shots to finish him off. And Vigilance is what's doing that. And so yeah, it gets disabled, but when you're playing aggressively, you get your shots out first and then stagger that enemy. And so it tends to be up a lot. And then I have my shield and then I'm playing from cover. And on top of that, I'm using the decoy. So I feel like I can maintain this. So I'm using it again for first shot advantage and then possibly killing that enemy before they even have a chance to get any shots out on me. And that's important because you have a small mag. This has 15 rounds, which is not a ton. And so you do feel like you're reloading a lot because you're spamming that trigger. And I'm going for a lot of headshots, maximum potency. So anyways, Grupo on the backpack with all crits here. It made a big difference in the feeling of the rifle build. I keep an eye on concussion, and you'll notice that concussion isn't active on your first shot. You have to turn it on with your first shot. And then you don't get the second part unless you get a kill with a headshot. But concussion would be my backup option. Of course, it's all about headshots, where Vigilance is body and headshots. So really convenient with the high RPM. Now for more armor on kill, I'm running Palisades on the gloves. So I have crit damage and I have a weapon damage core here. You can put armor there. If you have a hard time finding this particular one, just go ahead and run armor there. You're hitting at 3 million, so you're good to go. For the knees, it's Foxes, rifle damage, weapon damage, and crit damage. And then I decided to go with the Picaros so that I can squeeze in some more armor while getting weapon damage, and I didn't need any more crits, so we're good to go there. And then for the mask, this might be a surprise, I decided to go with the Catharsis. So I went back and forth, and in the end, I just feel like I didn't need any more crits. So I feel like with rifle builds, it's survivability you need, and your shield takes a good amount of damage when you're out and about and you're taking damage, and because you're healing, you actually see Vicious Cycle dropping its heals a lot. And you get a damage bonus as you're taking damage, and so that's cycling a lot. So I'm getting damage bonuses, I'm healing, I'm getting damage bonuses, and I'm healing. And so I really feel like I'm using Vicious Cycle well here. I have a lot of layers of extra survivability. So we have the armor on kill, we have the extra armor, and then we have heals coming out of the mask as well as damage. And then of course the 10% armor on kill coming out of the Dr. Home. So we have 20% total armor on kill, sometimes more when you get that weird headshot thing going, which is crazy when it does kick in. It's pretty powerful. Just for me, I didn't see it always kicking in. But with rifles, I feel like you're spending a lot of time out of cover shooting. Since they tend to be more precision-based shots with high power, that means there's gonna be misses and reloads and moments where you're taking more damage than you would like. So I feel like without strong heals, you get suppressed a lot. And so I was looking for a more balanced build, and I think you'll enjoy this too. I have 45% crit chance, 132% crit damage, but I would recommend bringing this crit damage down just a little bit and pushing your crit chance a little bit higher. Try to bring your crit damage down to about 120% and then backfill in your crit chance from there. The reason why I wasn't being super strict about the crits is because focus on the chest piece is doing a lot of heavy lifting on the damage, as well as just the Doctor's Home rifle itself. And then I'm running the decoy and then just a standard shield. It's a tier 2 shield. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this build. The Doctor Home is a beast. I just keep coming back to it. We tried all the other rifles. This rifle is just like the one for me. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is TuxedoBandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
Follow me.
I get it.